You're listening to the Fitness Matters podcast with Paula B, and this is episode number 44, Giving Up. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of the Fitness Matters podcast, where we talk about the fitness matters that matter to you. And like always, I know for sure that this one matters to you because this has been kind of a weird week. I have noticed, and before I even get started, I'm going to distract myself a little bit to the side here. I notice somewhat frequently that I tend to think that the things come in waves, that there will be sort of a theme of, if not the week, then of several days where on the internet, either in the comments on my YouTube or over on Facebook in either the Killer Beehive, which is my free and super interactive, supportive, wonderful Facebook group, or my paid Facebook group, which is the Get Your Goal group, where we are all, super dedicated to getting our goals. I've noticed that there are themes where suddenly for a couple of days there will be a lot of comments that are very, very similar. And I've noticed this for a long time, and I've always wondered if it's just me, if it's something that I am seeing that is therefore being reflected back at me. And the more I think about that, really specifically, the more I think that's probably exactly what it is. I mean, like all things in life, you can only perceive what you are already noticing and perceiving in yourself, that there's not really a lot of new information. It's always a reflection of what you yourself are thinking. So I'm going to actually do a little bit of pondering as to why exactly I've noticed that over the last week or so, I have seen what I feel like is sort of an uptick of comments from women who are very frustrated, who are saying that they are about to give up. And again, now that I'm thinking about this, I'm like, okay, I don't feel like I'm going to give up. I wonder why I'm noticing this. I'm turning this into something about myself, and I really want to make this about you. So let me make this about you. I have fielded a couple of comments, several comments over the last week or so that were saying things like, I'm so frustrated with trying to lose weight. I'm about to just give up and accept that I'll be fat forever. And I'm paraphrasing. This is not a direct quote from any one person. If you did happen to write something like this somewhere recently where I saw it, yes, I am actually talking to you directly, and I don't mean that in any way, like always, when I make these examples. I'm not trying to call you out or hold you up for speculation. I want you to know, actually, that I hear you, I see you, and I thought about it so much longer than just reading your comment that I'm making an entire podcast to talk to you about what that means to give up. And part of the reason I'm making an entire podcast about this is because this is a particularly difficult topic for me to write about. I did respond to different comments in different ways, but you know how sometimes in writing, it's really hard to tell the exact intonation of what somebody is saying. It is my job as your coach to sometimes not let you get away with stuff and to kind of push your buttons and push you to think about things in a new and different way. And for this topic really particularly, because my answer is yes, as a matter of fact, you should give up, that might not come across in writing very well. And if you're reading the transcript, it might not come across in writing even while you're reading the transcript. But if you're listening to the podcast, hopefully you can hear in my voice, my intonation, how much I actually care and get the meaning of what I'm truly saying to you. Because that advice to give up, I know that does not sound like excellent advice. In fact, the comments that I saw were responded to with so much sympathy and empathy and caring and don't give up. You got to keep fighting the good fight. Stay patient. Stay the course. Keep doing what you're doing. Of course you've got this. And all these comments that sound very nice, very kind, very supportive. And yet here I am telling you to give up. Because here's why. Your sentence makes it very clear what's going on with you. When you say, I'm so frustrated with trying to lose weight, that feeling doesn't just come out of nowhere. It doesn't come out of thin air. It comes from your thoughts. And I'm totally guessing here, and you probably have lots and lots and lots of different thoughts about the process of losing weight. But I'm going to conjecture that what you are saying to yourself every time you step on the scale, or every time you look in the mirror, or every time you try on clothes that don't really fit very well, or every time you're tracking food, every time you're doing something, you're saying to yourself, this isn't getting me anywhere. This isn't helping me lose weight. I'm never going to lose weight. Something along those lines. Those kinds of thoughts create the feeling of frustration. The frustration doesn't come from the scale. The frustration doesn't come from food. The frustration doesn't come from external things going on. Frustration comes from your thoughts. So when you are thinking something that causes you to feel frustrated, then your action might be to give up. And that action is totally warranted in the face of thoughts that are causing you to feel frustrated. When you feel frustrated, it's because you're fighting against yourself. There's some thought that is combative, that is somewhere in the lines of, this is never going to work, nothing works, everything I'm doing is wrong. Something along those lines is what's causing the frustration. And my friends, I wholeheartedly urge you to give that up. I 100% urge you to give up that kind of thinking. Those thoughts aren't serving you. Thinking that you're never going to lose weight, thinking that nothing you're doing is working, why in the world would I encourage you to not give up and to keep doing exactly what you're doing, which is thinking thoughts that are causing you to feel frustrated? No, my friends, I absolutely urge you instead to do the second part of your sentence, to accept yourself. Now, I know you're saying it as kind of a threat. I'm just going to accept that I'll be fat forever. And I understand that temptation, but let's walk down that road. Let's literally think about what that would look like. What if you accepted your body exactly the way it is? I'm going to let you think on that for a second. What would that feel like? You're fighting me right now. I know you are. Because you're like, well, I can't accept it the way it is because it's fat. It doesn't look good. It's lumpy. It has bumps and wrinkles and saggy skin and bat wings and a minnow pot. That's not acceptance, my friend. That's you, rather than fighting yourself, fighting me, fighting what I'm saying. You're fighting the acceptance. I'm talking about what it would feel like if you actually wholeheartedly, 100% from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, accepted your body exactly the way it is. What would you have to think to accept your body exactly the way it is? And this is a real question. I'm handing you homework. I want you to think, what kind of thoughts create a feeling of acceptance for you? And it might be kind of hard to access these thoughts right now. It might be kind of hard to even brainstorm. So what I do in a case like this is the same thing I do in every case, like everything. I think about some other time when I have been successful about this, and then I apply those ideas to this new thing that I'm trying to do. Think about somebody that you accept exactly as they are. Somebody with flaws, somebody with foibles, somebody who has imperfections, somebody who makes mistakes, somebody who doesn't look or act or sound or behave perfectly almost ever. For lots of us, maybe that's our kids, even though sometimes we fight them too. But for some of us, maybe it's our parents, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's our pet. That one's pretty easy, right? If you have cats or dogs, lizards, snakes, chickens, whatever you've got, you accept them, right? Even when they're naughty, even when they do things that are silly, even when they can't take care of themselves, even when they're ridiculous. Whoever or whatever it is that you already know how to accept. Examine your thoughts about that person or that animal or that thing, that whatever. What do you think about them that generates in you a feeling of love and acceptance? This is worthy of a list. Like most of the things that we do, almost everything that we ever talk about is worthy of some kind of either journaling or list making. And yes, I am really going to make us an entire podcast about journaling. This one came up for me this week, and I really felt like it needed to bump the queue because I noticed so many people talking about this. So make yourself a list of the things that you think about somebody or something that you accept deeply and with so much love in your heart. And you'll find even that those thoughts are actually kind of hard to access because you've thought them so automatically that you don't really consciously think about them anymore, that you don't really think about what that acceptance sounds like in your head because you're not trying to accept that person or that animal or that thing every time you look at them or think about them. That's what we're actually aiming for. That's what true acceptance is, just so you know. Acceptance on a very deep level feels automatic. It feels as though you just feel that way. The feeling comes out of thin air, or the feeling must be generated by the person or the pet or the place or the thing. But it's not. That feeling of love and acceptance is generated, created by your thoughts. Think about the things that you think. I know, that got convoluted, but think about what you think about somebody or something that you love and accept. And then, after you've made that list, read it to yourself about yourself. Just try it on. Try it on like you're putting on, a heavy coat in summertime is what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel uncomfortable. But you know how sometimes when we're swapping out wardrobes for the seasons, you've got to try on things that are not entirely weather appropriate right now. That's totally okay if it feels awkward or uncomfortable while you're trying it on. You're just trying it on. What would you think to accept yourself? What sort of a thought would create a feeling of acceptance in yourself? Maybe something like, you're beautiful, you're funny, you're amazing, you're smart, you're interesting, you're clever, you always follow through when you say you're going to. And then start thinking those thoughts not just about yourself, but actually about your body. Even the way your body looks. I know you're fighting me again. That's okay. I know how this goes. You have spent probably, I'm going to say most of your life. I think for so many of us, we have spent most of our lives looking in the mirror and finding something wrong. What if you didn't? What if the thing that you gave up was hating yourself, feeling guilty about what you eat and what you do, calling your body terrible names. What if that was everything that you gave up? What would you say to yourself instead? Imagine how much time and how many thoughts you would free up if you gave up hating yourself, if you gave up fighting yourself, if you gave up trying to do something that feels like it's not going anywhere. Give it up. Give it up, my friends. Give it all up. What would you think instead? Now, here's the thing about this podcast. I don't actually have answers for you. I'm not going to tell you a list of things that here, if you just simply practice thinking these 3 things, that everything's going to be lovely. This is actually homework today. I am pushing your buttons and I am pushing you outside of your comfort zone. This is on you to do the practical stuff this week. I'm still going to tell you how, but I'm not going to tell you what. You generate a list of things that you could think about yourself that would create a feeling of acceptance for your body and yourself. Because you are your body and your body is yourself, but we kind of see them separately. Sometimes we think we accept ourselves more or less, again, with the list of I'm funny, I'm clever, those kinds of things. But when you translate those thoughts onto your body, there's a whole nother level there, isn't there? There's a whole nother level of pushback. And I'll tell you why. We've been told our whole lives through all kinds of messages. Some of them came from people you know. Some of them came from TV, magazines, etc. Anybody with any product to sell is going to tell you that there's something wrong with you and that their product is going to fix it. That's marketing 101. So rather than starting to blame society or your family or whatever, simply accept that. You've had lots of messages handed to you that your brain got really efficient at thinking. That's really all that's going on here. Nothing to be angry about, nothing to fight against, but simply understanding that these are thoughts that you've had over and over because they were available to you. And that's exactly what your brain does. Your brain takes thoughts that are available and it just gets really efficient at thinking them. That's part of why you're resisting right now, just so you know. Your brain loves to be efficient. Your body loves to be efficient. Efficiency is always the goal for basically anything in nature. The flower grows towards the light so that it can get more light. This is very, very simple stuff. So when your brain hears new information or tries to think something new, it will automatically, because that is an inefficient thing to do, it will automatically reject it and resist it. That's why you resist new things. We all do, and not just you. We all resist any kind of a new idea. It's why when I tell you, what if you thought something loving about your body, your brain says, nope. Because your brain has thousands of thoughts already in the catalog, ready to just pull it out of the Rolodex. Here's what I can think today. This part of me is ugly. This part of me is fat. This part of me shouldn't look like this. Your brain has thousands of thoughts that it has gotten very good at thinking. So when you ask it to think something new, it's going to say no. That's fine. That's totally fine. When you practice the new thoughts, you will become more efficient. The trick is that the practicing part is going to take more effort on your part. It's going to take a little bit more energy, a little bit more calorie burn, if you will, to think a new thought. And you're going to have to really be conscious about it too. The thoughts that you've been thinking, kind of like what you think about the person, the place, the thing, the animal, the whatnot, that you love and accept wholeheartedly and easily, you don't hear those thoughts consciously. So you're going to have to notice consciously the thoughts that you're thinking about yourself. And then you're going to have to remind yourself, oh, that's right. I don't think that anymore. Here's this new thought that I'm going to think because this new thought generates in me a feeling of acceptance, a feeling of love. Here's the thing. When you give something up, when you give up feeling frustrated, when you give up hating yourself, feeling guilty, when you give up dieting, when you give up trying to lose weight. If you actually give up, and if you actually follow through on the second part of accepting yourself, I have a little spoiler alert for what'll happen. When you give up fighting and hating and resisting, and you accept and love yourself and your body, any kind of improvement that you want to make is actually going to be easier. I know that you think if you accept yourself for exactly who and what you are, that you will do nothing but eat ice cream and sit on the couch. I know that's what you think. And I have to tell you that the exact opposite is true. People who love themselves actually find it really easy to do nice things for themselves, like stop eating when they're full, like go for a walk or a run or exercise because it feels loving. It's actually really easy to do all the things that you do to lose weight because you love yourself. I wholeheartedly urge you to give up fighting yourself, to give up struggling against yourself, to give up trying to hate yourself thin. That's not how it works. When you love and accept exactly who you are and where you are, everything that you want to do will get easier. You guys, this is always a lot to take in. And I want to be really, really clear, like always, that this is not a fast process. This is not like I've listened to this podcast and now I love and accept myself and now weight loss is going to be easy. Because here's what I know you're thinking. because I've done this so many times myself, and that's why I'm laughing. Because you hear that on the other side of this all, that you'll still be able to lose weight. And I know you want to, and that's fine. But when you're fighting to get to the part where it's easy and fighting because you just want it to be easy, you're still fighting. There are things that you need to give up right now. There are things that it's time to give up. And there are things that you need to accept right now before the weight loss is going to be easy. That work in the middle, the giving up and the accepting, that's your job right now. The weight loss will come. It's going to come. That's not even, honestly, in my mind, that's not even the problem. The problem is the resistance, the fighting, and the things you need to give up. So give them up. I'm really curious. I want to know. What are you giving up? And what are you accepting? What are you going to say to yourself? What are you going to practice saying to yourself that feels like love and acceptance? Thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you again next week.